Well, here during Comic Con, the hotel prices have, jumped as soon as it's announced what the dates are. And there's people that go down to Mexico and stay.
Oh, yeah, right.
Or go to one of the campgrounds over in East County.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I honestly, when I was, before I started staying in the band, I was looking how much it would cost me in a year to do the hotels. And it was, when you start getting close to $10,000 in hotel fees, you start going like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. And then you start going down to the cheapest hotels and you're still paying $7,000 a year, and you're gonna go if it's even worth it to do it. So, so in this day, if I stay in a hotel, I just spend the money because it's usually a better hotel is more comfortable. But I still have the problem with the beds. Like I start itching like crazy, and it's usually my legs, and then I need to go to the bed and get my bed sheets still, and the pillows is the other thing that I need to bring up all the time. So it's just fun to be on the road 26 weeks of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody has their stories about the worst place they have ever stayed.
Yeah. Do you know the only good thing about the COVID thing when it comes to the hotel is that the hotels don't have to worry about bed bugs anymore? Seriously.
I don't know if that's true or not.
they're kind of endemic here. They're putting homeless in the hotel rooms now.
Oh God.
That could be worse.
They're giving them vouchers. And there's the mayor of one of the smaller cities here is suing the county for that. Because it's like, okay, they got a voucher, it's nice, the hotel fills a room that was empty, but who pays for when the room is destroyed or needs deep cleaning?
I don't think the deep cleaning would do it sometimes, but
deep cleaning, yeah, that means like totally
super deep cleaning.
Yeah. So, but they're just handing out those vouchers, I guess, not based on anything other than, oh, you're homeless, here, go here.
Well, it's a catch-22.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to clean up the river beds here and get people that are living, there out because it's a fire danger. They're having campfires and the brush is really dry, and it's going to go up the hill, into the homes that are up, above the canyon.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's very scary. That's what's happened with, it's wildfire season now.
So did you talk to Bonnie, Larry?
Is she still pissed?
I don't know. She told me she was on vacation last week.
She was. She was going to family.
Right. She had family over.
Yeah.
No, I haven't spoken to her in a couple of weeks. But I don't speak to her. She doesn't answer the phone. I message her through Facebook and she responds right away.
Okay. Hopefully I talk to her tonight. So
yeah. Yeah, I know.
So we see.
Hi, Sharon. She's muted.
She's muted.
Yeah, sorry, it was to the side of my screen. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey. Allison, how was your St. Louis Art Fair?
It was medium, and I've got a few things pending that might come through. So it was Sarah is a wonderful director also, and dealt with some things, and anyway, but whew, was I exhausted. It was the Saturday that I came home, like, you know, I drove home on Monday, and then that Saturday did an artist market, and I realized it was a mistake. I really just needed more time to work in my studio or rest. But yeah, no, and it was fun to be there and saw a lot of artists I haven't seen in a while, and so yeah, it was a good experience.
Awesome.
How was the crowd?
It was very steady. You know, the buying energy was it was a medium show, you know, it just I usually at a show I'll sell like a couple of really expensive things that kind of pushes me over, and this except on Sunday where I actually sold a big brooch, which was really nice, but you know, that it was more modest for my price range sorts of things, but it was a steady crowd and people engaged, and I actually got an enormous amount of people for my mailing list, so that's really nice too. So the weather was pretty good actually, and so yeah, no, I can't complain. And you know, my booth neighbor canceled on the day that we were setting up, and they have the booths in pods where you each have your own corner.
Right.
So I was orphaned at the end of the aisle. So the next, I had asked if I could move and face the other direction. So the next morning we kind of scooted everything over to face my other neighbors, opening towards them. So then it was kind of a nice flow, because some people couldn't find me that first night since my tent was facing, like my tent wall was to the back of the booth next to me. So anyway, but we got to change that around, and so that was good. Yeah.
Thank God you're a jeweler.
What?
Thank God you're a jeweler.
Yeah, easier.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, right, the cases we could lift up and just move, you know, without breaking it all down. That's true. You're right.
Yeah, because if that was me, I would be crying. That's 2 hours to take down, 4 hours to bring it back up. No.
Right. Well, the other thing is on Saturday, we didn't start till 11. So, and it didn't even take us an hour to move everything over.
Yeah, like I said,
but I
happy
think
you're a jeweler.
Yeah, I do think that, you know, there've been more, like, it seems like there's a lot of last minute cancellations. I hope the person's all right, you know, but it seems like there's more last minute cancellations at shows this year in general.
Do you have a feel for why that is?
So I know with St. Louis, some people did really well at Park City, and it wasn't enough time to rebuild up stock. But I think it could also be COVID, you know, people canceling because they're sick at the last minute. So that's my guess anyway. But I don't know.
So Douglas wasn't supposed to be your neighbor? Douglas Sigwart?
No, it was a ceramic artist.
Okay.
And he called to cancel. But it was, you know, the day of setup and like later in the day. So in the evening, you know, my neighbor wasn't there. And so, you know, and me being at the end of the row, I was opened in the opposite direction of my neighbor. So there are people who said, "Oh, I tried looking for you," and they had a hard time finding me. Then, yeah, but thankfully, you know, that was a fairly easy solution.
Are some
The result-
artists canceling because of COVID?
Yeah, I think so.
I have several friends who've come down with it over the last few weeks who were fully boosted. None of them were, you know, critically ill. None of them were hospitalized, but they were laid up for a couple of days.
Wow. I just got my booster today.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, the new boosters are much better because they include Omicron. The ones that you could get a month ago weren't anywhere near as good.
Right. That's what I understand. I also got the not the Pfizer, the Moderna, because my other one was a Pfizer. So I thought, I don't know if it's good to mix that up either.
Well,
but
yeah, my pharmacist says you should mix it.
yeah. Okay.
My pharmacist won't let me, even though I agree with you.
Well,
Oh,
according to the one Medscape thing I read, though, the Pfizer one is the one that has the Omicron.
No, there's a Moderna with Omicron as well now.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
it
both
is.
available.
Well, it said it was a new one and it was bivalent, but it was to one that was already extinct and then to the original.
Well,
Whereas
that's true for
Pfizer
both.
one was the original and the Omicron.
Right, and the Moderna is also the original and Omicron.
Not, well, like I said, not according to the medical article I read.
Okay, but the ones
So-
the ones I've read said
Fake news.
didn't agree with the one you read. Who the hell knows?
Well, and I mean, the people I asked today administering the shots said yes. So they sure make it easy. They have a setup at the farmer's market. You don't even, I had an appointment, but you don't even need one.
Oh.
You know, I got mine from Walgreens, and then we tried to get my sister's, and she had gotten all 3 of her prior shots at Walgreens and did the exact same thing that I did, and it wouldn't let us. We ended up calling. It was very strange. We kept getting error messages that we weren't making errors.
Wow.
Maybe too many people were trying to call in at the same time.
Mhm.
I don't think so, because we had no difficulty getting the appointment once we called. So it was some coding error in the website, and from a couple days apart.
So Oscar, do you have any more shows?
Well, this weekend I'm going to do Bird Ridge with Amy Outdoor. I had no expectation on the show because it's the first time I ever done it since Bo Jackson used to do the show. Then I got Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia with the craft show people.
Did you read on Facebook about Rittenhouse this weekend or last weekend it was?
I know, but you know what?
I'm just saying, just awareness, that's all.
I know. It's just that the thing, because I live in Chicago, those things are second nature to me. So
no, I get it. I mean, look, crime is up everywhere.
Yeah.
So
like there's certain things that you have to be conscientious about it.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to watch out your surroundings. You have to be careful. And you cannot take chances, basically.
So one of the things about St. Louis that they offer is if anybody, and particularly jewelers, needs an escort back to their hotel, they offer that, which is really nice.
But this is the thing I think about crime in general. It's like if somebody's going to do something to you, they're going to do it no matter what you do. So
I disagree. I mean, it's sort of like if there's 5 cars on a street and somebody didn't lock their car, their chances of being broken into are better because some of the crime, it's about opportunity also.
Yeah, I know. But I'm talking about pros. No, no idiots.
No, there are an awful lot of crime is done by idiots. So
yeah,
I know.
Thankfully. So what's everyone applying to for next year?
I got ready to Bonita one. I got Naples, or 3 Naples. I applied to Fort Myers. I'm not going to get waitlisted this year again.
We haven't juried yet, Oscar.
I know, but I always get waitlisted. I'm waiting for my annual waitlisted list answer.
For which
You
one?
never know. You never know. I mean,
I
For which show?
know. Fort Myers. I don't know.
so the Scottsdale Arts Festival, on their website, it says that, see you in 2023, but I heard through the grapevine that it's not happening. that they're just not going to have the arts festival anymore.
Which one?
Scottsdale?
Scottsdale,
Wow.
which is very disappointing. It's now that it's maybe a 7-hour drive.
Well, the fact that there aren't as many big shows on the western part of the country, that really hurts a lot of artists.
Yeah, that's right. No ACC anymore in San Francisco. Sausalito doesn't exist.
I thought they was going to bring it back next year.
I have no idea.
Well, and Lakefront doesn't exist anymore.
That's a huge disappointment. I loved that show. Yeah. So
I applied to everything that I would do all the way up to beginning of May already. I just need to send the Texas applications now. But those shows in Texas I usually get waitlisted or get in, so it's a or in fact no. So I don't count too much on those. But we'll see
so
what happens.
I think Cottonwood is coming up soon. Have you ever done that?
I always do it, but this year's series, I do it usually the spring and the fall. And this fall, she didn't let me in. So I sent a new set of images for next May. But that show has never been, for me, it's never been like a fabulous show. So even for the distance, sometimes I wonder if it's even worth it to do.
Is that Dallas? Is that the
That's
Dallas area? Okay.
Yeah, but I get to see my best friend Chauncey, so it makes it, so it makes it a little bit better to go. Another reason why to go down there.
Right.
So assuming that I'm losing money, So
Yeah. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. At St. Louis, they had a compliance officer come to every booth, and I just thought that was really great, really. And so she, looked in the cases. She had our jury images on her phone. So
but I think that all the good shows do that now. I know that in Florida, I know Mardi Gras does that. I think the Coconut Grove does that also. I know Winter Park does that for sure. And I know that Gasparilla screamed the hell out of you before you even show up in there.
right. I've never, not that I've never noticed it in any of the shows I've done. But I think it's fantastic.
I know, that's what I was asking about the booth shot before, because some shows that your booth looks too off. They send up somebody from the community to double check on you, and it becomes a big fiasco.
Right.
It only happened to me once, but I see other people happening too. So.
And Old Town is going to start having an emerging artist program. They've announced.
That's another show where when I sent the application, because now I got that weekend you got Columbus, Omaha, for Wall Street. So I can apply to all four and see which one I get in.
Right.
But Omaha will be like the last choice of those four. Even I did good this year.
So I don't know whether you, back to enforcement and integrity, I'm not sure that you would always notice if the show's checking.
Right. It makes
probably
sense that
You probably don't know, you probably wouldn't notice that we do.
yeah. She introduced herself actually.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Lots of different ways. And the emerging artist is very interesting. We don't have that program formally yet, but the applications, I'm talking to other shows that close about the same time we do last week or so when it was, there has been an enormous increase in new artists applying.
Wow.
That not applied before. Yeah, we get hundreds obviously of applications, but there was a a noticeable big increase.
Oh.
There are a
That's-
handful that obviously did not look at our website before they applied.
Mhm.
You know, they really need some help with images and in many cases their work too. Not for us to say, but
Right.
most of the applicants coming from new artists were really good. The image is good, the art was good, the booths are good.
That's
Who
great
knows
to
who I'll
hear.
get, but it was interesting.
Yeah, because so many people have retired also. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, you need the new blood.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
It was good to see it though, right? Because it could have been,
Yeah.
we just got the non-retired prior artists and, you know, but there was a lot of new, probably 250 out of our total.
Wow.
Yeah, it was significant.
Because Douglas and William Armstrong was talking about in the podcast, they used to be the new people and they both
Right.
50. And that's the same range I am also, 55. And I don't see that many people. Usually everybody's older than me. Most of the
Right,
time.
right, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, I'm
So,
over you.
I do know of like this one particular person who started out doing wholesale shows. Like in the last year, she did wholesale shows. She was in a mentorship program through the Women's Jewelry Association, and now she's asking me about these retail craft fairs, you know, fine art and craft fairs. I know that those wholesale shows they're phenomenally expensive in comparison, and they're often in convention centers and things like that. And you know, I would imagine since COVID, a lot of, you know, galleries have closed. So, you know, I mean, you know, there's always, I guess, this balance, but it's I think like even with the retail shows, you don't necessarily just show up and have a great show. It's still that long game of the build up over time, you know, people seeing you again. Like whatever show I do, even in St. Louis, I saw people I knew from, say, California or and so I think in what we do, it's not just, it might have been in the 80s, so I've heard, but that it's not so insta that you just show up and, you know, make a ton of money.
No, I can't tell you that for sure.
It depends on what you have.
Sure.
I'll never forget the first time I saw somebody at St. James Court that created these creatures out of lawn tools. You know, painted bright colors, and they had 2 truckloads, and they went through the entire thing. I even bought 2 pieces and brought them home.
But how long ago was this?
25 years.
Right. So that's, yeah.
But somebody has to come up with an original idea, and then it's still possible.
Maybe. I mean,
I think that Larry's right about that. If you don't have, you know, even that idea that Larry's talking about, now you see at least 2 or 3 people doing the same thing, like putting scraps together to make sculptures out of them.
Well,
And
the
some
thing
of them
is
are
that
really good.
anybody who has a great idea is going to be copied very quickly.
Yeah. Look at what is Anne Fleming? The lady with the bots. It's the 4 bots line.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, Amy Flynn, yeah.
Yeah, so she
Oh.
has that line, and then you have the other lady that copy her and does this everything exactly like her.
But she doesn't have Amy's wit. So
I know,
I mean,
but you know,
but that's the thing with Amy's work. There is so for those of you who don't know, she takes old tin and found objects and she creates these creatures that are anthropomorphized, but then they each have a backstory. And so and her husband like when people walk into the booth, he tells people about the story, you know, of their lives and all of that. And so they're not just objects, they're, you know, they have their lives. And while somebody else can create, I mean, there are a lot of people who do things out of found objects, but you know, hopefully everyone's is different. And with hers, it's, you know, a lot of it is just up here in her mind. And like the way she uses the parts, like you don't look at her items and see the parts, you see the figure, which I think is really brilliant. So anyway.
Yeah, it's like Andrea Darnell's dolls.
Yeah.
Not familiar.
She creates these creatures from
Mhm.
scratch. She builds these dolls. They're all strange figures.
Mhm.
And she sells out all the time.
Uh-huh. So is she one of these people with just this bizarre mind?
Maybe, but each one has a story. I mean, a real story.
Yeah, right.
And that's
Yeah.
what sells it. And she has a lot of collectors.
Uh-huh.
She,
Oh, that's
she
great.
lives here in the Pittsburgh area. She brings her
Mhm.
stuff to me to photograph.
Uh-huh. So,
Well-
but that's the thing, you could recreate what somebody else does, but you don't have the rest of it that goes with it. You know, like, and her dolls are unique because of her. So somebody else could copy her, but they won't have what she has because it's in her mind.
They're not dolls as per se. They're
Right.
animals
Hmm.
that are dressed up, you know, with specifically tailored clothing
Uh-huh.
and shoes. I mean, she hand makes all the shoes for them and
Oh,
everything.
jeez.
The-
Wow.
The littlest detail.
Well, the original Cabbage Patch dolls were art too.
That's right.
And then they started mass producing them overseas, but still out of cloth and so on. And then that was too expensive too, so they went to these plastic pre-molded faces. But still get those.
Mhm.
But
And didn't they have,
they have an adoption certificate
right.
with the name and whatever,
Wow.
where they're from. But yeah.
Well, just remember that Hydrox cookies preceded Oreos.
Really?
Yes.
Which cookies?
Hydrox no longer is sold. They were sold until a few years ago. They,
Ah.
like Oreos, were dark chocolate cookies with a white cream in the middle.
Mhm.
And they came first and Oreos came second. And over the years,
Ah.
Oreos won.
Well, Oreos no longer uses animal fat. Because I knew like kids my age who were kosher, they were not allowed to eat Oreos because there's animal fat in them. Yeah, they weren't kosher.
Not only is it not animal fat, it was lard.
Oh.
Mm.
That's why
Big
they
fat.
tasted good.
More reason not to eat it.
I did not know that.
A
Well,
co-
that was like McDonald's with the tallow and the French fry oil.
a kosher friend said, "You brought Oreos?" And I said, "Yeah." I didn't have time to bake. And she said, "You know that filling is lard, don't you?" I said, "Oh, ugh."
Oh my goodness.
I
Well-
met Annette, who's on this group. I don't think you're here today, are you?
There
I
she
met
is.
her at St. Louis.
Yeah.
There you are. Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's hiding.
So got it. Well,
She
nice
said
to
that
meet.
she said that she meet you last week. You was a
Mhm.
no-show last week, Allison. We were just
What?
waiting. You was a no-show. We give you a pass because you was traveling.
Right. Thank you.
Oh God. You know, I applied to the last Naples, and I was hoping that I didn't saw the schedule, but it was like if I get to the last Naples, the downtown Naples, and then go up to Dogwood, and then I realized it's a week in between. So I don't know how long to stay down there now.
Oh, Sharon,
Mhm.
did you see the email that they sent out to Florida artists?
I did. I commented on it on Facebook when I saw it. I
Yeah.
commented right after Camille did. Like, I think my comment was, I can't imagine this email. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But
They
you know,
kind of changed in directors, haven't they?
no, I think it's still Maureen running
Oh,
the
no.
show.
Maureen's
No.
been going a long time.
Okay.
No, it's a guy, I think. I guess a guy's name. No, because we used to work with Maureen.
Okay.
But she's not there. I don't think she's there unless maybe she changed jobs there.
Because I think she's still there, but it could have been last year. But
Yeah, maybe she changed something, but
Yeah.
yeah, because I used to meet with her and I haven't seen her for quite some time.
I was
it's-
talking to an artist at the art fair here that was last weekend at Mosaic, and that topic came up, and he said the person is a former realtor, I think.
Right,
Um,
that's the word on the street here.
It's doing the
Oh,
name
wow.
of the show.
Yeah,
Is that a cattail?
yeah, that's the famous Dahlia.
Yep, Dahlia is known nationwide.
so let me ask this, how do the shows get, or what can we do to help get artists to attend previews or mock juries, people who want to get into shows and who just aren't getting it on their images? That's one question. Another question is what you were saying, Allison, about it's not just about showing up, it's about all that pre-work you do with your social media newsletters and all that, and people, your databases, and getting more artists to do that.
Yes. I think that
Business
while the
after all.
yeah, I think while the show is certainly responsible for, advertising and all of that, I think all of the artists are too.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think minimally, everyone who's participating in a show needs to send an email to their mailing list. I mean, I do snail mail.
Yeah, and
Hmm?
if the pandemic and the lockdown hasn't taught artists that they need to have a mailing list,
Yes.
nothing will,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the artists that were successful over the lockdown had
Made it.
used their mailing list.
You know, the only thing that I agree with you, Allison, but it's when you go to an area for the first time that you don't
Sure.
have. That's the only time that I can see a problem with that.
Well,
But-
I'll tell you what I do. So I send the information out to my entire mailing list across the country because I mean, I have people show up or they send a friend. Oh, I have a friend that lives
Mhm.
there. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, my largest part of my mailing list is in California, but I mean, you never know who's going to show up somewhere else. So, there's still, that, and of course, social media, which, you never know who's, sometimes I feel like, nobody's listening. And then at a show, oh, I've been enjoying your travels and da da da. So they're out there, but, if it's the first time show, then, I understand you wouldn't have a local audience, but you never know. I mean, especially in Florida, I mean, people
Mhm.
travel
No,
from
I
all
know.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Florida is a different monster. It's because you got a lot of
But-
people from the East Coast and Midwest going down there.
But in Denver, I see people from, I mean, I've had customers from Boston, from Oklahoma, from California, and a lot of people have moved over the last 3 years too. So,
Is there any way you can do the jury thing like in a Zoom thing also? Or that's not even possible? Because I saw the email about it, but I'm going like, well, I'm not in Florida. I cannot even see it. And that it would be nice if I can at least see one round or two,
Mhm.
one round and Zoom or record and then see it later on.
We were just talking about that again today. We did do a little bit of Zoom last year. The challenge is that the images, because we're a projected jury,
Mhm.
So the room is dark and the images have so much white light coming off those screens that they wash out. So
Oh.
if we film it or zoom it, you know, a video thing, you don't see them the way they actually look. And it's not us, it's the fact that all that white light coming off the screens. We have tried videoing it in the past, even with super professional television crew cameras. And you can't get rid of the white light, so you don't see it. And so last year what they did was they ran the in-person day when you could come watch the images in person. And that was projected, so you saw all the images together. And then they ran the digital zap version that just shows the images one at a time, and Zoom talked about them. It's just not the same. You know, that's Larry's whole thing about getting a better presentation from Zap on the digital juring.
Well, yeah, it needs to be Zoom friendly.
Yeah, it's just, so it's hard to do that, Oscar. We would really like to do that, but you can't get the images, and we don't want the artists to think that we're projecting these crappy looking images, because we're not. I mean, they're beautiful, but, well, assuming, right, that you turned in good images.
Yeah.
I mean, they're beautiful.
So why couldn't the professional video crew set their camera manually and underexpose?
Yeah, they have tried everything. It is the darkness of the room, because we're
No, I know.
we're black, and our screens are extremely white, and so it just, even with manual setting and the difference in exposure, it has never, because we've tried in the past before Zoom, yeah, we've tried to just record it and then put it up online, and we can't get decent looking.
It's like
good enough images.
photographing. It's like photographing in the snow.
Yeah, it's just, and we don't want people to think that we have lousy projection, because we don't.
Yeah,
So,
I remember St. Louis had that problem.
yeah, it's difficult. So we would love that, but it's interesting that we're open all afternoon on our setup day for, come on by and you can preview images and talk about them on whatever you want.
And nobody comes.
No, we get about 20, 25.
Yeah, I know.
But
That's
with
about
the number
average.
of people in Florida, the number of artists south of Orlando, that room ought to be standing room only. I mean,
Right.
it's free. I mean, it doesn't
And
even
no,
cost.
artists don't get it.
But then when they do come, they always leave. There's a handful that leave that are confident they will get in, or at least have a really good shot, because they're competitive with it, everything they've seen in their category. And then we have more artists who say, yeah, maybe I should just withdraw now because I don't have a chance. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not, because they've seen the rest of the group. I mean, they've seen their images, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I got to go home and fix these because I don't have a
But that's a
chance.
good thing.
It's a great thing. It's great. And they've thanked us for that. And we've actually helped a couple get in who were really, they had great work. It just, one of them was a collage artist, and it just doesn't come across well. And she was going to go fix her images and everything for the future. We helped her get in that year, and she did great. And now her images are wonderful. And she's, you know, she was relatively new at the time. So
That's nice. That's really
Yeah.
great to offer that, because I'm sure a lot of people have no idea whatsoever.
mhm. There was one up in Larry, I guess it was Larry's, I forget who, where it was, Art for a Lounge or where it was. It was a jeweler though. It was in the last couple of days that had those white backgrounds and little tiny images in a great big
Yeah.
square. That one. It's like, oh dear. Part of what needs to happen here is so simple, right? Saying nothing about the work, but needed to happen, the image was so simple. But if you don't know that, you don't know it. So.
Here's the problem. They're shooting it with their iPhone,
Mhm.
and they don't understand that because they're shooting it with their phone, they're limited in the number of pixels.
Mhm.
Once it's cropped properly, it won't be large enough for journeying.
Yeah, but that's a simple fix if they just knew that was the case, you know?
Aren't the newest iPhones extremely high def?
The new
You
one,
have
yes.
to
The new
shoot in
ones.
RAW, and then you get 100 megapixels. Who's going to shoot in RAW?
The
You
the
know,
new phone has
sometimes you just have to hire a professional.
Mhm.
the new phone has a RAW mode for the iPhone, the one that came out last year. But I don't use it for that, so
No,
I cannot tell you.
the new one that just came out last week has 100 megapixel camera if you shoot RAW.
Mhm.
If you shoot JPEG, it's the same 12 megapixels.
Yeah.
So what's an adequate size, Larry?
Well, it needs to end up after cropping around 2000 pixels long dimension,
Okay,
but they can't, the closer you get to photographing jewelry, the faster the back of the piece goes out of focus. So theoretically, the only way to keep the whole piece in focus is to back off, and then the image is too small to work with.
okay.
And even if you put in the macro mode in the phone,
No, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
It's autofocus. It focuses on the thing that's closest to the camera, that's in the focus range. But the closer you get, the faster the back drops away. The depth of field becomes narrower.
Yeah.
Need one of those old brownie cameras with, they have no perspective to them.
You mean fixed focus now?
I don't know what it's called, but it was like you could do it with a pinhole thing that you made out of a piece of cardboard or something, and the old winding film strips.
Yeah, when I
When we did that.
photograph jewelry, I use a technique called focus stacking. And it may be 10 or 20 pictures. And I'll slowly focus through the piece of jewelry from the front to the back. And then I have software that combines it all and pulls out the part that's in focus of each image. And that's why the piece is entirely in focus when I'm done.
And that's more common done now than people think.
Well, you have to have a professional camera to be able to do it. You have to use a tripod.
I know.
Not using a tripod with a real camera is worse than using a phone. It really is. It's harder to keep it in focus.
I know. Trust me, I know. I got money. My other tripod was super heavy to carry it around. So and last year I'm buying it for Christmas, a tripod, and it's a lot lighter. It's equally steady because I couldn't, it was too much weight.
Carbon
Yeah.
fiber.
Yeah. So, but I've been reading a lot of that because sometimes I see pictures and I go like, how in the hell they got everything in focus? Because that's not possible. And then I started learning about focus stacking. Then I also learned about exposure stacking. So there's a guy that I was reading that does what you're saying, the focusing, and then does the exposure in top of that. Like it gets really, really complicated, but you need software for that.
Well, the exposure is like, what is that called? I forget. It's a technique where you're taking an underexposed and overexposed and a normally exposed picture, and you're combining them to bring out the detail.
I know what you're talking about, but I'm running blank in the name of it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So got a question in general. Now that you're talking about what you think is a normal show should be doing for an artist when say that you're going to a show for the first time, what you expecting the show to provide to you, like in recent. I'm not talking about bathrooms or breakfast or anything.
You're talking about promotion.
Promotion, yeah. Anybody have
Paid ads, I think, are necessary.
Well, some shows have a designation in their program for the artists that are new that year.
Yeah, you're talking about promotion ahead of the show?
Yeah. because say that I go to a show for the first time, and I don't, Florida, it's not a problem for me because I do both coasts, so I got enough on the mailing list. But when you go to the Midwest, I wonder if the shows are doing enough because I was talking to another friend about it, and the shows that are run by the art association or smaller group, I tend to do better than the big shows, which it doesn't make any sense. Like there's a show like Lexington, Kentucky is run for the Art League, and it's done in the Woodland Park in Lexington. And that was my best show of the summer by far. And it's only 200 people, and you have to apply to their own thing. And maybe because I've been doing it for a long time, maybe that's part of it. But then you go to a show like a state college and don't even come close. There's
I
not
mean,
enough.
sometimes it's luck, but if the show doesn't tell their audience that they're going on, then, I mean, you know, what do we want a show to provide? We want them to provide qualified buyers, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think, which is why I think, you know, all, like if every single artist did minimally, you know, tell their customers, that would help too. But you know, I mean, do shows have advertising budgets, don't they?
You hope.
I mean, I'm doing open studios here in October, and they tell us everything, like the list of where they've advertised. So there's paid ads, you know, of course they're doing social media. And last year they didn't have a brochure because they didn't know if it was going to happen or not. And then they have an online app, and, you know, and all of these things. But, you know, in the end, you open your doors and you hope people come. So
When you say paid ads, are you talking about particular media?
I just mean advertising in general. And, you know, I'm definitely no expert in that area, but I know the open studios I used to do in Berkeley, the woman who runs it, like I saw her change over, you know, from print ads, and she's still, you know, used to do some print ads, but change over to, you know, ads through Google or whatever. And, you know, she learned how that worked, because the days that we had the actual event, we would see like 250 people a day, and okay, it was a condensed area. But then the day after open studios, if we stayed open till Christmas, we would only see a smattering of people. So so it was interesting. It just dropped off once the ads were done. And you know, I would hope that shows have some sort of plan for advertising. And you know, again, it's not my field of expertise, but
The established shows might.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak for everybody, right? Just for us, but I mean, in our case, the paid is TV, radio, print, social, outdoor billboard, digital billboards, trade ads between us and all of the other arts organizations. Like if you go to the symphony, you'll see an ad for us, and there'll be a symphony ad in our program. So that kind of trade ad. And more emphasis on paid social and paid online advertising. So when you say about doing social media posts and not necessarily knowing who's seeing that, because that's probably an organic post. We do some organic posting, but that's not Facebook's plan anymore. If you really want to get to the people you want to get to, it has to be paid for. So it's actually quite inexpensive. And like if an artist, I mean, we spend way more than this, but to Oscar's question about if you're new in the area, if you were to do a paid Facebook targeted at, it depends on what you're selling, right? So targeted people who like jewelry and make over $100,000 and live within these zip codes, that sort of thing, right? Women only, that kind of stuff. if you were to do that going into a show, you could do a really good job for $100, a really good job
Oh,
of
Oh,
getting
wow.
to those people. So now, even if you don't have an audience there, you're saying, oh, look what my photography or my jewelry or whatever your medium is, I'm coming to town on these days. And whatever other detail you want to say in a paid ad, that would really get you lots of that exposure. I can't guarantee you how much you'll end up seeing at your booth, but it's probably more than you would see if you didn't do it.
right.
No,
And if
Interesting.
it's $100, the odds, most artists at this level show, they need a fraction of the sale of one thing for $100. I mean, right? I mean,
Right.
it's not
Yeah,
like it's 1,000.
That's
you.
interesting.
So we could teach, if artists were interested in this, we could teach as an open Zoom class. This is how you do a paid Facebook ad.
Hmm.
We could just pull
Actually-
ours up and zoom it out and say, okay, click here. Then you can open your Facebook page and say, okay, click here, then click here, then put in this image, then write these words, right? We won't give you the words, but we could say the kind of thing you want to write is
Yeah.
this. Write your own and put in your own image. And this is the kind of image you'd want to use. Right.
Hmm.
So if you were selling high-end jewelry, you'd want a really dynamic, why I should come pay your price tag for jewelry. I mean, you
Mhm.
know,
Right,
Yeah.
because the women that wear it drive in a Rolls Royce.
yeah, right. You can't get quite that precise, but you can get pretty good. And so that would be a very powerful thing. I can't imagine if even half the artists in a festival did that, the impact that would have would just
Yeah.
be, we do plenty of our own paid. But
Okay, so I was talking to Amy Amber a few years ago, and she was saying that the hardest part for her is that she had the same budget than before, or even if you spend it a little bit more, you have to advertise in so many places now. It's really hard to get a good return. And she got better with it, but she said it's still really hard to do. And
on social media, social
media, because she used to say that you just go to the radio, the TV, and the newspaper, you was done.
Mhm.
Now you have to do Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, every single social media you can find to because you don't know where people are coming, because she said that the demographics are changing a lot. Because we start seeing more people in the 40s and 30s walking around, and they don't necessarily watch TV or watch the news, so you have to go social media all the way around. But it's just interesting.
It is, and social and online, which is the
Yeah.
kind that comes up in Google messages and things,
Wow.
is really taking over the world, or has, so we've shifted a lot of our paid funds there. We still do TV, radio, and print, but magazines and billboards are the most successful, but they're focused to that weekend, right? They're urgent. People have been seeing the advertising other places, and then the big digital billboards come up and they're kind of like, get down here. It's not what they say, but they're like, oh, this weekend, like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm paying attention. So,
Yeah, you gotta get an interview with the Friday morning news show at 7:00.
yeah. It all takes a lot of work, right? It takes a lot of work. It takes artists who are willing to get up and come to the 5:30 interview. And not when we call, say, oh, it's too early in the morning. Okay.
Allison,
Although, yes, but in all fairness, if you have, let's say, I don't know, a 10-hour day at the show,
Yeah, right,
you also need to be fresh selling.
right.
Excuses.
It's But we did
So-
have several years ago, I'm sure others have had this, but several years ago, I happened to be standing there. We did an early morning. We did it with a high-end jeweler. She wove fine gold, I don't know if you call it wire, but very fine.
Mhm.
So it was all the weaving was the art. And she was one of the people we interviewed that morning. And I was standing around there later after the show opened. This person came in, walked directly to her booth, bought the bracelet that was on the show and left.
Wow.
I didn't see any other artists, which that was my sadness, but that artist sold the piece that was on the show that morning.
That's pretty amazing. I
It was
mean,
amazing. It was quite amazing. The artist was
and
amazing.
so and so direct, you know, like
Yeah.
such a direct reaction.
Yep, came straight in. That was it, left.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not
Well,
sure.
a
how
lack of
anyone-
imagination on that person's part, that there wasn't anything that was even worth looking at except what she had seen on TV or he had seen on TV.
Yeah, right. It'd be nice if that had spilled over, that maybe the rest of the artists were interesting too, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of weird, but it was a good example of promotion works.
But if you ever do the thing with Facebook, I will sign in for sure.
Would you? You find
Yeah.
that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I really,
yeah,
I would like to learn how to do that, because I don't mind spending the money if I know I'm going to get a return or
Mhm.
doing it right. I don't want to be spending money trying to learn how to do it.
Right.
right,
So,
right. I feel the same way. It seems so vast and ambiguous also. So that would be very interesting.
And it looks intimidating when you start through the process on our ad manager. It looks intimidating.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that if you were Walmart or somebody, right, who has lots of other ways of working their, maybe not Walmart, working their audience, it's way more complicated. But for our purpose and your purpose, it's very targeted, pretty straightforward.
But those big companies they hire people to do that.
Big
for them
staffs to
anyway.
do that, right, right. And they're not intimidated.
actually, one of my clients does the advertising for Walmart. She helps the promotion of Walmart, and that's the only thing that they do.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But for us and you, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Amazing how many jobs there are now that weren't even imaginable 25 years ago.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's true. That is a commentary that comes a lot in my circles with my sister. Like a job that you would do now that you would never thought it was possible 10, 20 years ago. But
And it's particularly ironic. I mean, when I think about what I'm doing right now is so old school. And you know, and plenty of craft artists, you know, are, you know, doing things that have been around since you know, for thousands of years.
Mhm.
So when you think about that juxtaposition of
Well, there are
technology.
still buggy whip manufacturers, not very many, but there are still
Mhm.
a few, because there are still buggies that need whips.
Ah.
Those are artisan made now though, and the price is almost as much as the buggy.
Well, that's so true that it becomes like there's in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, there's a forge that was resurrected, and you know, now it's an artisan. You know, it was a steel manufacturer, but you know, it's an artisan sort of school, and you know, at the and they saved it, because otherwise, I mean, so many other forges just kind of went by the wayside, and so that's the only way to save these things, I guess, since there's, you know, no need for them in a manufacturing sort of
Japan
purpose.
actually promotes or supports their traditional arts that way. Government, you have to have a license to be an official artist.
Mhm.
And it's a whole process of being certified to get that code. But you know, it results in a chair costing $30,000 because
Right.
it's all done by hand. They weave the seat, they, you know, do all the joinery without any nails or anything, and
Mhm.
they're perfect.
Mhm.
But they're 30,000. And I know there's a bell we have at Temple. It was made out of a block of bronze,
Mhm.
like over a month to make. And again, it was, you know, up there in the tens of thousands for it because they hammered that thing and it's tuned to the key of E.
Oh,
Yeah, but it was all, I mean, they didn't use any thing other than hammers on it to get it out to this shape.
Hmm.
You can't repair them. If it cracks, you know, if you try to weld it, it has a very tinny sound.
Hmm.
Because we had one that was cracked and somebody tried to weld it.
and didn't take.
No, but, you know, yeah, one bell.
Well, I would imagine that, you know, there are exceptional welders who could do better,
Well,
few and far
probably.
between, but
But they said it's not that it's worth 30,000, but it's worth 30,000 to support the art.
mhm. So I saw a person who did what looked like an old master painting entirely in HTML.
Oh,
It was amazing to me that these codes that are you have very specific codes in one file, which is the HTML file. You have this other set of very specific codes in what's called the cascading style sheet, and the amount of work it must have taken to generate this amazing image, it must have been months. But
Oh,
you know, it's completely but you know, I mean, there are all sorts of ways to make digital art. This was about as difficult a way to do it as I can imagine.
was that the one that was supposedly done by an AI? Or was that? a
No,
different-
no, this
That
was,
was-
there may be one done by an AI, but this was done by a human being that I saw a couple years ago.
Well, there was one that was done by an AI and entered as digital art and won like the first place. And then there were complaints that it wasn't human made.
Right,
But
but
it
that
wasn't
was,
just the guy didn't just push a button and it popped out. It was, he had to program the AI to create.
but AI is a completely different technique.
Well,
Now,
yeah,
this, you know, this was coding almost pixel by pixel in HTML. There are many other easier ways to code pixel by pixel.
yeah.
So I was just completely blown away. That's, you know, far, far, far beyond my skill level, and I'm pretty good. But you know, it's like Einstein beyond Einstein to the average physicist. I would say it was just amazing.
You have to be pretty obsessive compulsive too.
Well, I think an awful lot of. I think you have to be obsessive compulsive to be a professional artist.
Yeah.
But you know, there are degrees, but
Or a business person.
no, you don't have to be obsessive compulsive to be a business person.
No, you have to be a business person to be a professional artist.
Oh, okay.
Hey, listen, my van is at the gas station and they're gonna be picking me up in about 10 minutes.
Sounds good, Larry.
I mean, I can leave the meeting, go. Or we could end it. What do you guys want to do?
I'm going to end it because I need to go and do the same thing. I need to go pick up my pen.
So Yom
Well,
Kippur is on a Tuesday in a couple weeks, so I
Oh.
will probably be attending next week, but I don't think the week after.
Okay.
isn't this weekend coming, the New Year's?
Rosh Hashanah is
Rosh
on
Hashanah.
Monday and Tuesday,
Oh,
but I don't, you know,
there's
I'm not
celebration
Orthodox
here this
enough to
coming
worry about
weekend.
Tuesday.
There's celebrations coming this weekend for it, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
well,
for everything, guys.
I'll
See you
go
next.
Thank
So
you.
long.
this
Yeah, good
expo
seeing you,
art
everybody.
show stuff.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you, Larry.
Sure, Alice. Bye, Pam. And then.